decide what formats of delivery methods would you say are most effective considering your schedule or your audience's schedule and learning preferences?
I think I mostly answered that, but I find that, there is a difference. I'll just say this. There's a difference in the crowd you get if you do in-person training versus online, because not everybody can afford the time to go for, to travel, stay in a hotel and take a couple full days to do some training, especially mid-level management type people. And so you'll get it kind of a different crowd I found in-person training as opposed to online, especially if you make the online in bite-sized chunks. So you may reach more people doing online training because it's easier for people to get on and interact and so I think that's an important distinction and I think really training should be kind of ideally, a hybrid type of thing where you do some, in person, some online, so you can reach those different segments. And so
Mhm.
I'll just leave it at that because I think that is an important distinction that I do see out there.
Yeah, I get you there. Again, agreed. And as you probably know from me, I don't just agree to agree. I disagree with everybody about something, but it so much makes sense, right? Because they sort of self-select, right? If somebody who's taking the time and money away from their organization or permission to go to something in person, there's a lot of valuable stuff like the nonverbal that you can't see, like you're seeing, you can't see below my high chest. There's a lot of communication that's missing, but the people who self-select to go to that are obviously by definition more motivated and or more able to pay attention intensively. But I really like your idea of just saying, well, make it hybrid. And even if some people can't attend the in-person, it gives that other element where the people who are motivated or can attend now get additional value, but you can still capture a really large audience or a large, serve a really large amount of people.
I do
So,
think we're seeing kind of the rise of hybrid events out there, now that we're, past the whole COVID stuff and that's so you're seeing some of that. We've taken what we learned during COVID, and we learned a lot during all those crazy lockdowns. Is that we learned a lot about how to reach out to people and so I think you're seeing more of the rise of the hybrid events and it's you can do the best of both worlds there but they're a little more tricky to coordinate and set up too and there's a little more expense to doing it. I mean, quite frankly, doing the online stuff, you can make it very elaborate and I've seen some really elaborate online stuff, but generally the expense of doing an online training is going to be less than in person.
for
Um,
sure.
so, so I think we're seeing the more you're going to see a lot more of the hybrid events. I think
Mhm.
coming out. So,
I was shortly before this, actually, one of my students sent me a talk, a TED talk, which I always encourage them to do. And it was about how to retain Gen Z employees. And it was interesting because it very much talks about that most Gen Zs don't want to always go into the office and they don't always want to be at home. In fact, they would use not having a combination or hybrid option for their employment as to not take the interview or to not work at that company. And I think the only reason it's different now than it was before is as much as I have some very sort of critical opinions about Gen Y and Z as being maybe overly sensitive and unjustifiably confident because they were high-fived for breathing in class, that was not helpful. But the fact that they're saying, this isn't good. It wasn't good before, but especially yourself and me too, by and large, were more or less punished for questioning something that everybody thought was bad. So there's been a lot of learning that way too. Plus COVID, those two things together have given us a whole new perspective on sort of working and learning. So I think that's awesome, awesome stuff there. Next one.